Can you start by just telling me a little bit about your role at the agency?
Yeah, sure. So I'm creative director, and I'm one of the original partners from Jam3. So even though that I'm creative director, though, it's a very mixed job being one of the partners. So I'm kind of involved in everything from business to sales, leading projects, overseeing projects, staffing, pretty much you name it. So
cool. How would you define success in your role?
Success in my role, again, I guess it's not a traditional creative director role. Because being a partner as well, it's so broad and varied in terms of what we need to do. But I think a few things that trigger success for me is, first and foremost, is the business healthy, right? Two is the creative team healthy? So is everybody kind of happy? Are they producing good work? And are they advancing as well? I think that's a really important thing as a creative director, and being sort of leading a team of creatives is trying to mentor them, and no matter what level they are, is trying to get them to that next level. Questioning, challenging, and always pushing them to kind of better and be better. So I think we've always said this as we've been growing as a company. So Pablo, who's my other creative director and partner. The two of us have always been really heavily involved in projects, and I think what would be really successful for us, or a nice thing, would be for the guys who are to be able to start winning blinds and stuff like that on their own without partner involvement. So as we've grown now, we're about 50 people. So now we're kind of we're less involved. We're more topical, bird's eye view. So
yeah.
So I think that for me would be success. So.
How does the business kind of support your efforts to be successful?
In a variety of ways. I think that's the nice thing about being at the size that we're at. We haven't, apart from last year, we haven't grown very quickly. We've always had a very slow organic growth. So it's to avoid cliches, but it's always kind of felt very family-like. So we're very supportive of each other. I think the most the biggest thing is communication. So much can be done with communication, whether somebody's unhappy or just finding out what it is that people want. But I think supporting people, it depends on the person's role. So some people look for support in terms of, we have somebody at the office that was a bit shy, and they're I'd love to do some speech courses. So we support them by, being okay, great, we'll send you to a speech class. Other people are, just hey, I want some books. Some people are courses, so everybody's a bit different. So.
In your opinion, how has our world changed in the last 12 months?
How's the what?
The world.
The world. How has the world changed? It's a big question. Assuming it's advertising. I don't know. It's funny. It's an interesting question, because for me, I find that while things are changing, I find that it's what we're actually physically doing and physically producing might be changing. I find that the wants and desires and ways that we get to those things are always the same. So they kind of follow a similar pattern and trend, especially in digital. Digital's really tough. People always used to ask me where do you see Jam3 in 5 years? And I'm 5 years. I have no idea, because obviously we have a rough idea of the company we'd like to be, but every year there's something new, some sort of new innovation that kind of comes out and kind of throws a little curveball, right? So you're always kind of doing something that's always a bit different. How has it changed, though? I think it's a slow progression. I feel you have those more and more you have, let's say larger, more traditional agencies slowly kind of breaking down that role, doing a little more digital, and in the sense of what I mean is stuff that's I guess maybe a bit more risky. What I'd love to see people do more is stray away from campaign, or not stray away from. I think campaigns always have a purpose. But I should say in addition to, is doing things that kind of have a evergreen projects. So projects that are kind of it's not something that's just going to live for 3 months. But hey, let's think about something that this utility or tool that the client can use, and this is something that's going to be a mainstay and will live on for 2-3 years and is supported. So that has some sort of long-term growth. And I think those type of things that you start to see a little bit more of those, and hopefully we'll see more of those in the future too.
So in a world that's so driven by data today, why do you think creative is still important and still matters?
Well, I think data is what leads to what would lead to good creative. So data for me is a resource. It's an insight. So we use data to look at where creative should be heading. I think data to me is research, and good creative should be based on research. So I think it's a matter of looking through data, figuring out what a strategy is, and just knowing that your creative has purpose. It's not just a good idea. It's a good idea backed by good data.
Do you think good creative always needs to be measurable today?
That's an interesting question too. And I'd like to say I had an interesting conversation here last year with someone, and the topic was this idea of we likened it to a fashion brand, and so you might have that. I think it's okay for brands to do what would be considered something like an haute couture project, so something that is a little bit more forward thinking. It's very progressive. Is it going to it's a bit different, but the point of the project is to almost have that under their belt to show their creativity, to show what kind of a brand they are, even though there might be some sort of promo that they do, which is maybe even like a direct mailer or something like that might achieve more, let's say, ROI. The idea being likening it to a fashion brand was that you look at some haute couture designer, and they'll have their fashion show. But everything that they wear is not very wearable, right? Mm-hmm. But they'll still have their regular line, but it's their haute couture line that kind of gets them their press, it kind of gets them their brand exposure, and kind of puts them at this creative company that sells the stuff that actually goes in the ready to wear. So I thought that was an interesting analogy.
Yeah. How do you keep your team kind of abreast of the larger business goals that the agency's working on?
Well, we actually have, we integrated a system last year or 2 years ago, OKRs. So I think this one is, it's, I find, process stuff to be kind of interesting. I don't like to talk about it in the sense of process. I mean, we're very small and nimble, but we have a lot of process built in. So the way that we do OKRs is that the company will set OKRs. And these are basically key goals, right? So key goals and objectives. And so the company will set those, what we want, and then we have department OKRs, and then we have individual OKRs. So this is just a way for us to sort of, we talk about these, I think, quarterly now. So we have a big company meeting, talk about what the quarterly OKRs are for the agency, what the agency is trying to do, whether that's, hey, we're trying to expand into this market, we're trying to win this client, we're trying to win more awards, we're trying to grow the business this large. So that they know what the focus is, even if it doesn't pertain to them like a junior designer, but they know what the company's trying to do.
So what do you find motivates your team?
Well, I find what motivates the team is different based on the department in our company. So in a very general way, I could divide our company into 3 different types, which is producers, creatives, and developers. And what motivates each department is a little bit different. So creatives are generally motivated by idea, concept, visual, aesthetic, sort of solving a let's say user interface, user UX concept or idea. Developers are often motivated not by let's say visuals that are not motivated by awards. I find generally it's more of a knowledge base. So I find, especially at a company like ours, where we do a lot of very difficult heavy lifting programming, so a lot of advanced stuff, sort of there's always some sort of boundary pushing stuff being done. So I think what's rewarding for them and what motivates them is that each project is new, that there's something that they're doing something new. It's kind of adding to their skill set, and they're doing they're becoming a better coder and can do more things. And then producers, I find what motivates them is, I think a very bird's eye view of the project. So is the quality good, and is it running really well? So I think producers also the producers of our company are very creative as well. So they love a job that's really obviously creative. I mean, who doesn't? But I think good creative always still motivates most people. So.
So last question, what brought you to Cannes this weekend? What are you looking to take home with you?
Hoping to take home a lion. So yeah, we were nominated for one of our projects, but I come here every year as well. So we have a lot of clients that are here, a lot of relationships. It's a great place to meet people, say hello, and what better place to do it other than on the Croisette.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I'm
Thank
going to
you.
let you get back to your day.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.